Hey there, and welcome to the Event Crushed podcast. Each week, we'll be chatting about all things wedding industry, entrepreneurship, and how to crush it in life and business. I'm so glad you're here. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Event Crushed podcast. This is your host, Becky, and I'm so glad that you are tuning in today. Before we jump in, just a quick heads up. We did have a few technical issues on my end with this episode. So there are a few times where my audio cuts out. So it might sound like it's a little bit abrupt at points. And at the very end, you don't even really get to hear me say goodbye to Sara. But as a whole, there is still so much gold in this episode, and I think that you will really enjoy it nonetheless, because our guest was just so fantastic. So today I'm joined by none other than Sara Dunn, the go-to SEO expert for wedding professionals and the founder of Sara Does SEO. Sara is known for making SEO easy to understand, and she's created a step-by-step framework that's helped over 1 million searchers find the wedding pros that they're looking for, including planners, photographers, venues, and more. Sara is a wedding pro educator, a regular speaker at industry events like Wedding MBA, and has been featured by Honeybook, NACE, and special events. In this conversation, we talk about what's actually changed in the world of search, how to show up in ChatGPT recommendations, and why a few small tweaks to your site can make a huge difference. And a very special bonus, Sara is offering Event Crush listeners an exclusive 20% off of her wedding SEO bootcamp with the code SEO Crushed, which will be active for 2 weeks from today's air date. So if you have been wanting to finally tackle your SEO with a plan that makes sense, this is your sign to get started. All right, let's get into it. Hey, Sara, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here today. I feel like you are kind of like the SEO legend for wedding pros. So I'm really excited to just hear what you have to share with us today.
Oh, well, thank you. That's so kind. And I will say SEO is what I geek out on every single day. So I'm glad that that association is made because I love all the SEO things and I'm so excited to be here to talk to you about it too.
Yay. Well, for anyone who isn't familiar with you, I would love it if you could just share a little bit about your background and what led you to start Sara Does SEO and how you kind of work with wedding pros today.
Well, it is a long and winding road and a little bit different maybe than a lot of people who serve the wedding industry. I actually had a digital marketing agency that I started in 2012 just because I loved making websites for friends on the side. And maybe your wedding pro audience can identify with that a little bit. You know, maybe there's something that you loved and you were like, let's make this a business. But that was kind of me with websites. So I did web design in general and all sorts of digital marketing for a huge range of clients till about 2017. And that was the year that I had my first wedding industry SEO client. She was a wedding planner based in one of the biggest cities in the US. And we happened to meet at a conference. We were just chatting and I was like, hey, I'm Sara. I've got a digital marketing agency. I do all the things. And she goes, is one of the things SEO? And I was like, yeah. Like I incorporate SEO into all my websites. I've done some advanced training. And she's like, awesome. Stop right there. I need your help. And I was like, okay, like, let's go. What's going on? And she told me that she had invested in a big fancy website redesign that actually negatively impacted her search engine ranking. So whereas she used to rank on page 1 for Chicago wedding planner, after that redesign was launched, she dropped to about page 7. And she's like, I'm not getting inquiries. My phone's not ringing. Like my business is drying up because of this. And she just looks at me and I've known her 30 seconds and she's like, can you fix it? And I was just like, yes, we can fix it. It will be amazing. And it really was a wonderful project. I loved working with her. We worked together over several months and we were able to regain her page 1 rankings. And that really is the interaction where Sara Does SEO was born. I created the Sara Does SEO brand as my secret side project, just in case it didn't work or it wasn't something I wanted to keep doing. So I still had my digital marketing agency. I had my secret side project, and slowly my secret side project really took over all of my work. So it was like 2018 or 19, I was like, all I want to do is wedding industry SEO, and I'm going to phase out of everything else and fully focus on this. So like, honestly, when you say, Sara, you're known for SEO in the wedding industry, my heart's so full because that was my dream in 2019. I was like, no one knows who I am, but I want to be the wedding SEO girl and like the person that people think of. And so that means a lot. I still truly, truly love this work. I love being this specific and getting to really go deep instead of broad. And now I have a team of 11 team members. We work with over 100 clients a year, and we do a lot of wedding industry SEO and see a lot of things.
Wow. That's incredible. 11 team members. That's so cool.
Yes. Contractors, employees, part-time employees, and, people who do SEO, copywriting, design, operations, student support. So Sara Does SEO is now a really stupid name for the business because it's not just me doing SEO, but that wasn't necessarily what I anticipated when I started this brand.
Yeah, absolutely. When it was your secret side project, you probably just figured it would be you all along. You probably didn't anticipate at that point that you would have this giant team. So
no way. And even like my dream was like, I'm going to just, be a solo business and just work with a few clients a year, and it's going to be really fun. And, sometimes you don't necessarily see what's coming or know what the needs are going to be a few years in the future. And thankfully, I've had some great coaches and friends who have guided me to be like, hey, Sara, you could train other people to do this. Hey, Sara, there are other people that would love to help wedding pros have more visibility online. And thankfully, I found some great team members who really fit into that.
Oh, that's amazing. I did have a question about, so that first SEO client in 2017, who you said, had this great new website, but then she'd like tanked on Google and ended up on page 7. Do you know, or do you remember like how long did it take to get her back on page 1?
Yeah, it was almost 6 months that we worked on it. Thinking from her perspective, I'm sure it felt like a long time. It was months that she went with things really quiet and not getting the number of inquiries she was used to. And so I always try to think about that. I'm like, SEO is slow, but we'll make it as fast as we can. We don't control all of the factors. We don't control Google, and the search engines move slow, but anything we can do to influence them to move faster and see what we're doing, we definitely try to do those things.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's, I have a feeling that that's why some people like don't even think it's worth it or like don't even really want to get into SEO, is because it's just not this instant gratification. Like it is a process.
Yeah. I mean, and I think too, what a lot of people encounter is that tracking SEO success is not as visible as tracking your success in other types of marketing. Like it's really fun when you post something to Instagram or TikTok and it goes viral and you wake up and it has 10,000 views or 50,000 views and you're like, I'm doing it. I crush it at marketing. And there's no virality to SEO. And it's also a lot harder to track. You have to learn what tools to watch to figure out, am I ranking better thanks to what I did? Am I getting more clicks and more traffic? That's not very visible. You've got to watch it in Google Analytics or Squarespace Analytics or Google Search Console. And all of those are really scary platforms. And then if you really want to get advanced, you want to track, am I getting more inquiries that I can track back to this source? And all of those things take like actual figuring out in tools. It's not just Instagram telling you something got 50,000 views. So it's definitely less of a dopamine hit than other types of marketing. And I think that that's one of the reasons that wedding pros would rather focus in other places, because success is so much easier to see.
Okay, so I've had at least, I think, 2 episodes on SEO before, but I'm sure not everyone heard those episodes. So if you would be willing to just lay like a brief foundation for us, for anyone who isn't familiar with SEO, can you just break down the basics? Like, what does SEO mean, and why does it matter to us?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked that, because I never want anyone to feel silly for not knowing what SEO is. I know it's not something we are born knowing. We don't start our businesses being like, I definitely want to learn SEO. So let's definitely talk about that. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. And I like to think about it as our ability as website owners and business owners to influence where we show up in search engine results. Now, for years, when I say search engine results, I've been talking about Google. So Google is still the world's dominant search engine. But we also now these days need to be talking about other places that people also search online. So optimizing and influencing to get found on AI tools, for example, like ChatGPT or Perplexity. These are kind of a new frontier of SEO, but they can also be influenced. They also have to find answers when people are asking them questions. And there are factors that go into these tools deciding which businesses are they going to promote. Because if you think about SEO and you think about a search engine, basically what's happening is someone goes to that search engine and they type something in, or they ask with their voice. For example, best wedding planners in Oregon. And then the tool needs to make decisions as if it's a human. And the tool wants to present really good results for the searcher. So the searcher's like, yes, this was perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. You're so helpful. I'm going to come back. And so these robot tools basically need to make decisions and say, well, who is a wedding planner in Oregon? Like, what are the list of businesses we know fit that criteria? And then, well, which one's actually the best? And what things can we look at to figure out which businesses are trustworthy, respected, actual experts in their topic? And so all of these tools need to try to bring in a lot of factors, almost like we would as a human, to figure out what business is the best and who should be presented at the top of a list of options. To me, that's SEO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you for just breaking that down for us a little bit. One thing I wanted to, well, there's so many things I want to talk about with you, because I feel like there's so many different directions we can go with SEO. And you mentioned AI. So I definitely want to come back to that. So we'll come back to that, because I'm excited to get into that a little bit more. But I was curious because, SEO, it's always changing. It's always evolving. Are there any like recent changes or updates that we should be aware of with Google, or, of course, AI? That's certainly changing. Is there anything you would share in that regard?
Yeah. So SEO, things are always changing. That's like the really common thing that a lot of people say to me. They actually say, Sara, I get it. SEO is important, but I know it's always changing and I don't feel like I have time to keep up. So I do want to reassure small business owners that the rules of SEO are not changing every single day or every single month. Yes, all of these tools are tweaking the way they determine their results just a little bit every single day to try to bring up better results. So Google makes changes to its algorithm every day. All it's trying to do is surface better results for searchers. That doesn't mean that what we do as website owners actually needs to change every time Google does something. Because if we're following best practices that are the high quality things, we call them white hat techniques. So basically, like, we're not trying to manipulate the search engines. We're just trying to present our business as the best, most relevant result. As long as we're doing that, the best practices really still apply. And I got a good example of this. I was actually checking in on one of my really early clients from 2018. And I haven't worked with her for years, and she actually sold the business, but they still use the same website that I worked on in 2018 with the same content and the same optimizations. And I was like, okay, just out of curiosity, because I'm always curious, how is this website ranking now? And they still had over 10 page one rankings and were still bringing in significant search volume, search traffic from Google and other search engines. So what it said to me was that a lot of SEO best practices are really long-term. And that's one of the really special things about SEO. So, there's a lot of SEO accounts you can follow out there that are always talking about the latest in search news, and the Google search algorithm is being updated and a new core update was released. And I'm always like, you know what? I am not going to be the place where everyone goes for the latest search news, because what I teach is very evergreen. And we're not making huge adjustments in our approach or what we teach. Now, I don't want to totally avoid the question. So one thing that I will bring up as far as recent changes in Google search especially is that Google's getting better at understanding synonyms. So when I first started in SEO, we would actually have to have one page that ranked for Michigan wedding planner and another page that ranked for wedding planners in Michigan. And now Google's getting better and able to be like, oh, when people type those things in, they're looking for the same thing. And so the search results are actually very similar for keywords where the intent is the same. So we're grouping more things together. For some reason, Google thinks wedding planner and wedding coordinator are actually synonyms. So now we're optimizing for those on the same page together. So just small adjustments. But what's interesting to me is that Google seems to have a better understanding of human language and what things are actually related together.
That's so interesting. Yeah, that's something I've wondered about over the years is like, do I need to have it worded in these different ways for Google to like pick up on it? But yeah, that's awesome that it's getting better at understanding.
Yeah. And it means that when we write copy or update our websites, like you don't have to use awkward phrases. Becky, you probably started in SEO long enough ago that it was kind of about repeating your same keyword multiple times on the page, even if it felt awkward in the sentence. So like, Sara is a Michigan wedding planner who loves working with couples planning their weddings. If you're looking for a Michigan wedding planner, you should contact Sara. And like that repetition was more important. Now we can, if wedding planner in Michigan or wedding planners feels like a more natural fit in a sentence, we just use the synonym. We're not trying to force a keyword phrase into the copy multiple times, even when it feels weird.
Yeah, I really appreciate that you shared that basically what I had said initially isn't necessarily true. That SEO is not always changing. There are these small updates and things are happening, but that the best practices still remain the same. And I think that's really reassuring for people because, yeah, when you get into something that you think is like constantly changing, like that just feels overwhelming and intimidating. So that definitely gives peace of mind. I would love to just jump into some of that AI stuff. So, I've seen some things you have posted about, couples using ChatGPT to look up vendors and find, local resources. And so I am just really curious to hear more about this. I would love to know how you see this kind of evolving and what does this mean for wedding pros? Like what should we be doing so that we can show up in those search results on ChatGPT and other AI sources?
Yeah, so I have to say, I did not see this coming when ChatGPT first came out. I know I looked at the tool and I was just like, this is a writing tool. Like, this is something that I can tell that I need an email about this topic and it will write it for me. And so to me, ChatGPT was like something I could use to generate new things. But we've really entered an era where a lot of people are using an AI tool, ChatGPT or Claude or Grok or one of these tools as kind of their everyday personal assistant, asking it all sorts of questions and having it assist them in many tasks. So in the last year, I have noticed and heard about something brand new. And this actually came from a couple of my students in my wedding SEO bootcamp program. One of my students actually posted in our private support community and she said, I just booked a client that found me on ChatGPT. And I was like, what? Tell me more. Like, what do you mean? And she thankfully was smart enough to ask the client, like, okay, well, what did you search for or what did you ask? And what was really interesting about what this person did was they didn't just search for a really narrow search phrase like we've always done on traditional search engines. So when we usually go to Google, we usually type in a search phrase that's maybe 3 to 5 to 7 words at the longest. And what we used to see in the SEO data for the wedding industry is like people would type in Florida wedding venue, like a location and then a service of what they wanted. So it's really kind of a more general way to search. By contrast, what this person in my example had put into ChatGPT was a whole list of things they were looking for in their wedding photographer. Like, I need a wedding photographer who shoots weddings in this location that helps me to not feel awkward in front of the camera, that's in this price point. And there were like 3 other things that she listed. And to me, I was like, this makes sense. Like, isn't it nice that someone can use a tool and have more than just a criteria that's like, you provide this service in this location? And so that was really my first time seeing that someone was doing this. And when I heard it the second or third time, I got a wedding booking from someone who found me on ChatGPT. Then I started to really dig in some of our client reporting, and I could actually see that ChatGPT was driving referral traffic to the website. Basically, people were clicking through to my clients' websites from ChatGPT, which really indicates that the AI tool was recommending them and including a link to their website. So this was totally new, and it is something that I've really seen increasing over the last year or so. More traffic, more tracked inquiries specifically from ChatGPT. And I'm really excited about it as a possible way for wedding business owners to market their business. We've got to make sure that ChatGPT and AI search engines really understand the business and can actually recommend it in, if someone is looking for their exact criteria. So that is definitely what I'm most excited about. And that is what I've been talking about a lot, the idea of us optimizing to get found on ChatGPT. Does that make sense as a concept?
Yeah, no, it totally does. I think this is so exciting and also just like so fascinating. I mean, I think it makes complete sense because I've been using ChatGPT in this way too. Like, it's kind of become more of my search engine now, but it's way more, like you said, it's more specific. Like, I'm putting in super specific things. Recent example is I am doing this road trip to go visit my mom up in Washington. And so it's like a 7-hour drive and I am going solo. Like, I'm not bringing my family, which is crazy. But I was like, you know what? I could kind of turn this into like a work thing and hit up some venues that I've been wanting to see along the way. So I had some venues in mind, but I put into ChatGPT, I said, like, I'm driving from Eugene to Bellingham. I'm looking for kind of like higher end venues that are close to I-5. Can you recommend some venues that would be on my way? And it sent me some that weren't on my radar that, sent me the links. So I was able to go check it out and be like, ooh, this is a great one. So I can totally see couples doing the exact same thing, saying, I'm looking for a photographer that's, this style, that's in this location, that's in this price range. Like, I think it's super cool, honestly, that we have that ability now. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. So question for you, as you did your venue search, were all the results good and relevant? Because I've really heard mixed things. So I've led a lot of students through doing this. And at least one student was like, okay, 2 out of the 3 businesses on this list are closed.
Right.
So I think there's still a lot of quality issues with what ChatGPT is presenting. So just curious, like, did you get any bad or irrelevant stuff in your search?
Well, yes, there were some that were questionable or like that just were, very more like budget venues. And I had to specify it. I said like high end or luxury, something like that. And it kept giving me these ones that I was like, that's not quite what I'm looking for. And then I just had to kept like refining my search, which I find that I have to do that all the time with ChatGPT. Like, I'll do my first question and then I'm like, well, like, this isn't really what I was wanting. Can you do this? And so I definitely did a few versions of it.
Yes, for sure. I've heard that's a really consistent problem, that not everything it says is right. Certainly, when I teach AI for blogging workshops, I always recommend fact checking everything that ChatGPT gives you back, because sometimes it does just make things up in an effort to at least give you an answer, even when it doesn't know the right one. So it's not perfect, but I think it's good enough. And Becky, like you, I think enough of the users who use it every single day, they've learned how to work with it. So even if its first things it comes up with aren't that great, I still think that they're going to turn to it and continue to refine their prompts and still get what they're looking for out of it. So I think this is definitely something that's growing and increasing. And I would love to share a few thoughts on what I've been recommending for students if they want to get recommended in ChatGPT. Okay, so the first thing to know specifically about ChatGPT, and we have been optimizing mostly for ChatGPT, it is the most popular AI tool for this type of use. The first thing to know is that most of ChatGPT's search results, when it actually goes out to the web, are driven by the Bing index. So Bing is a competing search engine to Google, and it's owned by Microsoft, and they've got a deal with ChatGPT. And so one thing I've been recommending to business owners who want to make sure that ChatGPT is aware of their business is to set up and submit your website to Bing Webmaster Tools. It's an awful looking website. You're going to look at it and you're going to be like, Sarah's such a nerd. I can't believe I have to go here. But it is a free tool. Basically, what you're doing is making sure that Bing is aware of your website and then probably submitting a sitemap so they're aware of all the content that you have on your website. So that is one thing I would recommend. It is a little bit 201 level, but it is a good way to make sure that you're in there and going to get considered. So that's number one. Number two, I'm really recommending that everyone go out to ChatGPT, even the free version. You don't have to pay for it. And actually, a lot of times it's better if you're a regular ChatGPT user, it's better if you use it logged out if you're running test searches, because that's what I'm going to recommend. I recommend that every business owner go to chatgpt.com and ask for a recommendation of a vendor in your category. So tell me, who are the best wedding planners in Oregon? Or what would you recommend for an outdoor wedding venue in Massachusetts? You know, whatever kind of search you feel is relevant to your own business, ask ChatGPT for the recommendation and then see who shows up in the results. You can get a lot of information. It usually gives you source links, so where it found that information. And what I think is really cool, if you're not on that list, you can actually ask ChatGPT why not. Hey, why didn't you recommend Sarah's wedding venue? It's the best wedding venue in Massachusetts. And it usually will go out, it'll take a look. Sometimes it will say, you're right, Sarah's wedding venue is amazing. We should have included it in the search results. And if you get kind of a fluffy answer, you can ask again, well, what does Sarah's wedding venue not have that these other venues you recommended first do have? What made you recommend them over Sarah's wedding venue? So using ChatGPT in more of a conversation to explore who's showing up, who's getting recommended, why are they getting recommended, and then getting a little bit of advice from the AI tool itself on what you can do to get included there is a really good idea.
I have never heard of that Bing Webmaster tool, so definitely going to check that out. I had no idea that Bing was even connected to ChatGPT. I just assumed it was Google.
I would say, Google gets factored in a little bit because we do occasionally see ChatGPT referencing information from Google Business Profile, especially. So local business listings, reviews that are on Google Business Profile, the rating. So Google is part of it too, but the index comes from Bing and the different things that ChatGPT is looking at.
Okay, that's really good to know. I actually had a weird experience recently where I was asking ChatGPT because I just thought it would be easier to, I was going to have it count all of my online reviews for my business for Event Crush across like Google, Wedding Wire, the Not, Facebook, because there's just so many different sources and I didn't want to like manually count them all. So I was like, hey, can you tell me how many I have? And it didn't even count Google. Like it had a really hard time with that. And I was like, but it's all public, like online information. I thought it would be easy, but it struggled. So I ended up just going in and just doing it myself.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if it was because all those places maybe weren't on Bing or couldn't find them. Who knows?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, no, definitely. I find all this so fascinating. I'm like, I just love learning like how it works and everything. And it's great advice to like log out when you run the test searches. I always forget to do that. And then I feel like it's being biased because it like knows me. And so I need to remember to log out.
Yes. ChatGPT loves to like stroke our own ego and say super nice things to us.
Yep.
So I was on my very first Get Found on ChatGPT workshop that I did for my students. And so one of my venue students was like, ChatGPT just keeps recommending my venue, says it loves my venue is amazing. And I was like, are you logged in? Because that sounds maybe a little more effusive than ChatGPT even usually is. So make sure you log out, or else, yes, ChatGPT tends to like to speak to all of us as its user.
Yes. Great tip. I could talk about ChatGPT stuff all day, but I did have a few other things I wanted to touch on while I still have you. So this next question is kind of like a real talk situation. I would just love to know, like, if you had the ability to wave a magic wand and fix one thing on Wedding Pros websites, and as it relates to SEO, like what would that be? What would you fix?
I think the one thing that my fairy dust would add is a really clear keyword on the homepage. So I want to add to the website with this fix, and having the keyword clearly on the homepage is one of the most influential things that you can do as a business owner who wants to show up for something specific. And for anyone familiar with SEO, that might feel like really basic, but it's incredible to me how many business owners come into my inbox and they're like, Sara, I'm so disappointed I'm not ranking higher for Nashville wedding photographer. Like, I've been in Nashville for years, people know me, and there's this random business that's been open for a year that ranks above me. And I look at the website and I go, well, you haven't mentioned on the homepage that you're a Nashville wedding photographer, and you're just trying to appeal to a robot that is scanning your website and trying to make sense of it. So you can't just describe your business as, I capture beautiful memories, or I plan incredible celebrations. You have to use the language that the searcher is actually looking for. So my magic wand fix would be the clear use of a keyword on the page. And then if my magic extends this far, I would also put that keyword in the SEO title of the homepage, which is a setting that you can find in almost any website platform. Setting your homepage SEO title and including your most important keyword there really clearly communicates to search tools that that is what you want to get found for. Does that help?
Oh yeah, I love it. That's perfect. I think that's a great piece of advice that we could all go do that right now if we need to. And that perfectly leads to my next question, which, I mean, you just gave us one, but I would also love it if you could maybe give one more like quick win. Like if somebody was going to go into their website editor right now and make a quick change that would help their SEO for the better, is there something that they could do today?
Yes. I want to see everyone put at least 2 to 3 testimonials on their homepage. And not everyone does this. Sometimes I see websites where all the testimonials live on their own page, like rave reviews or love notes or reviews, and it's just linked in the menu. And the problem is that most users don't go to a page that they know is just full of reviews you've curated. And the other problem is that search tools are mostly searching the main pages of your website looking for context about your business. And so we want to have as much written text on your homepage as you can stand. I know as wedding business owners, you probably are like, I don't want a lot of words. It scares people away. But there are ways that you can design text on a page that looks really good and supports your design and supports your marketing message. So testimonials are one of the easiest things to incorporate to put more words on the page. And we are seeing that ChatGPT and AI tools are really scanning testimonials and then giving them to users as the reasoning for why that certain businesses are included in the results. So I'm like, put more testimonials on there because I keep seeing ChatGPT be like, clients say Becky is incredibly organized. And I'm like, where did you learn that? And it's like, well, Becky put that on her own website. I'm like, okay, that's what I thought. So testimonials seem to be really important to ChatGPT. And so I would love for every wedding pro to make sure they have 2 to 3 testimonials on the homepage of their website.
Yes, I love what you said about testimonials. And that's something when I was kind of redoing my website this time, because I used to have a testimonial page on my website. And then I learned that like, that's maybe not the best. And so we ended up spreading them all out throughout my website. So every single page now has a testimonial. So I think, which like, I never would have known that like, why not have a page, So I think that's super helpful. And like the AI and how it's taking, from those testimonials is so interesting.
Good. Yes. And hopefully it's an easy one to implement.
Yes, absolutely. Well, in wrapping up today, this has been so great. And I could talk about this stuff all day. And I'm sure others could too. So if they want to dive into this more, I would love if you could share a bit about your wedding SEO bootcamp that you offer, and then also the lunch and learn opportunities that you do.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to learn more about SEO and really learn a step-by-step process for it, I would absolutely recommend my program, which is called Wedding SEO Bootcamp. And I will tell you, your ability to implement SEO totally changes when someone gives you a step-by-step process to follow, as opposed to here's one tip here and one tip tomorrow, and you're trying to put it all together and go, what's the most important thing? Really learning an SEO process is something that will help to clarify the way this really works. And so that's what I teach in Wedding SEO Bootcamp. I have a DIY option or an option where you can also add on coaching and support with my team, and we'd love to support you. So that is the paid program. If you're not quite ready to invest and you just want to learn a little bit and see if it makes sense to you, I would love to have you at my SEO Lunch and Learn. I do Lunch and Learn every single month. It is just 30 minutes, a pitch-free workshop where I teach you something simple and actionable about SEO that you can implement right away. So that's a great place to start. And then I hope to see everyone at bootcamp later. Yes. So on social media, I'm at Sara Does SEO on basically every platform. That's SARA. And you can also find me at saradoesseo.com for lots of help articles and more information about SEO services. Absolutely. It was so great to see you, and wishing everyone much SEO success.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Event Crushed podcast. I hope you found value in this episode, and if you did, please consider sharing it with a wedding industry friend. We also hope you'll consider leaving a rating or review for the show to help other listeners find it. This podcast is edited and produced by Ace Sound Design. If you're looking to elevate your audio experience, their info can be found in the show description. As always, thank you for listening, and please connect with us on Instagram if you haven't already. Now get out there and crush it.